What's going on, everybody? The Original Mako back with some more Vampire Survivors content. Before we get into that, be sure you check the links down below. As always, if you want to see me do some runs live, want to see me play some other really cool games live, check out that Twitch link down below. We have a ton of fun over there, super interactive, and I'm sure you would enjoy your time. So check that out. I would really appreciate it. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're getting closer and closer to 3,000 subs, and there's going to be plenty of content coming your way on this game, on other fun games, on a bunch of stuff. So there's never going to be a lack of content. You might find a new game you enjoy as well. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you know when my videos go live. But that being said, let's go ahead and get into it today. So it's been a while since we've done a tier list for this game, and there have been plenty of weapons added since the last time we did one, so I figured it was time to do a new tier list and talk about some of the new stuff and make some changes to the old weapons. While we're at it, I want to be clear. This is a tier list, okay? This is my opinion, okay? You guys will likely have very different opinions than mine, and I want you to know this is coming from the point of view of a person who basically, the majority of what I do now is going for high kill records. So there are certain weapons that are better for that than just winning runs, okay? A good example of that is, we'll talk about it as we go. Regardless, so I'm going to do weapons that have upgrades first and then do that weapon and their upgrades. So we'll start with the axe here. And this is also going to take the new arcanas into effect. So the axe itself is going to be B tier. I think the axe is great. It's a little slow to get going. You need a few upgrades for it. You need a couple of passives to help lift it up a bit. But it does now crit by default if you have the new arcana. So if you want it to crit by default, it can. But it's you know, it's not very, doesn't do a huge area of effect. When you get a few more projectiles, it starts to. It's just a little slow to get going, but still a very solid weapon choice to have. Its upgrade, however, is very easily, very clearly S tier. If you have this weapon critting, the damage output is unbelievable. You obviously have the Candelabrador, which means the AoE is huge. If you have cooldown reduction, you're spewing them every couple of seconds in all different directions. Does a ton of damage, gets a ton of kills, and is super good once you get it upgraded. Like I said, the original axe is a little bit slow, but once you get it to the death spiral, it is just an absolute unit out there. Next up, we have the Bible. Now, the Bible as a weapon, I think it's A tier, okay? It's really good if you're going for like your first win and stuff, because it's a good zoning tool, keep things away from you. If you get some projectile speed, you can start spinning it really quick and get more projectiles. Obviously, the more books you have, the better. It's never going to be an MVP of like high kill runs and stuff that I do, so I barely use this. But in terms of just trying to get a win, the Bible, I think, is a very solid weapon choice. Like I said, the main reason is just being able to zone things with it is super useful. So I'll put that there, and I'm going to put its upgrade in the exact same tier, because its upgrade doesn't change much. It just makes it so there's never, you know, it never goes away, which still follows the same purpose of being a zoning tool. It's never most likely going to have like the most damage out of all your weapons, but it'll keep things away from you. It'll do some good tick damage and help soften the enemies for some of the other weapons to get the job done. So A tier for Bible and its upgraded version. Next up, we got the birds, and boy, oh boy. Man, I got to think about the birds for a second. They're D tier. Talk about, you think the axe is slow to get going. The birds are extremely slow to get going. They need a lot of help from other things. Honestly, pretty much the only thing the birds are good for is getting Vandalier. Other than that, they're not going to be helping you out too much. It's going to, you know, slow down your runs and not provide the damage output you want from 2 weapon slots. So they're not quite F tier because they're okay once you have a lot of help for them, but they're not good enough to be pushed up anywhere else. So both birds get to go into D tier. Now, Vandalier gets to go into A tier. Vandalier is really, really good. Probably one of the, here, I'll rank each one within the tier as well. So Vandelier's A tier, and the best so far in A tier. It pushes S tier. The problem is it's very slow to develop. Just like the birds, or just like the same reason for, this takes up 2 weapon slots. You have to get 2 weapons to upgrade it to level 8 before you can get Vandalier. It takes a while to get there. But once you are there and you get and then you have to upgrade the Vandalier to level 8, then it outputs damage like nobody's business. You probably have a lot of things to help you by that point, and your damage output with Vandalier will always be up near the top. The only reason it's not an S is because of how long it takes to get there. Compared to like Death Spiral, you just need to get 1 weapon to level 8 and have the Candelabrador. For this weapon, you have to have 1, 2, get to level 8, and then get this to level 8 as well. So there's a lot of upgrades that have to go into this, and those are upgrades that can't be spent, doing other things. So it just takes a really long time to get there, but it is still absolutely, in my opinion, an A tier weapon. Next up, we have the Cross. Cross is going to go A tier for me. It's borderline the best weapon. It's up there with the best weapons that aren't upgraded for sure. Even if you never upgrade this weapon to its Heaven Sword, you're still going to output a ton of damage. It's really good early game for getting a lot of kills. The whole boomerang effect is nice. It doesn't have a huge AoE, but you get a few crosses going at the same time with some projectile bonuses, and you're going to be cleaving things pretty good early game and still outputting plenty of damage late game. So I think the Cross gets A tier, and I think Heaven's Sword is going to be right there with it. Heaven's Sword is obviously can crit, and now with the new Arcana, the double crit damage you can get is ridiculous. The only reason I wouldn't put it in S tier is because the AoE isn't great. No matter how many projectiles you have, you're only going to be shooting out 1 sword at a time. So it only does it only cleaves through 1 line of enemies, as opposed to Death Spiral, which is cleaving pretty much every enemy on the screen. So the AoE of this weapon is just not good enough for it to be an S tier, but still will output a ton of damage and be a great, great weapon. So definitely A tier for both of those, in my opinion. Next up, we have the Fire Wand, and this is going to be interesting. So the Fire Wand itself, oh boy, I'm going to put it in C tier. It could be B tier potentially, but it is really slow. It's definitely slower than the axe to get going. You need a few upgrades and a few passives to help it, start to actually output damage, even with the new Arcana. Now, the new Arcana definitely gives it a buff, but I still think it's just so slow, and once again, the big reason for getting it is so you can get to its upgrade. So maybe it could be in B tier. It's very, very close between the two, but it just takes so long to get going. So for me, it's going to stay in C, and its upgrade, however, is absolutely an S tier weapon. With the new Arcana that makes this explode, in my kill runs, this has had the most damage per second every single time. Not quite the most total damage, because that'll be a different weapon that we look at later, but it's always either has the most DPS or it is very, very close second, because all of these huge fireballs constantly getting spewed out and constantly exploding on contact as they pierce through enemies. They're piercing through enemies, and every enemy they touch is exploding, doing AoE damage. The damage output that this weapon has with the new Arcana is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, and easily is an S tier weapon, and it's not even close, really. It's not even close. So absolutely S tier for that. Next up, we've got the guns here. And the guns are going to go into B tier. And they're going to be above the axe. Now, the guns, I think, are really, really good as a weapon on their own. Obviously, the big issue with them is that they go in very linear directions. So you're not getting a huge amount of AoE, but you're getting a lot of damage output with these weapons. They're not super rare to get. You can get them pretty often on other characters that don't start with it. So it's not like that's really a downside of them. So you're going to need a decent amount of upgrades with them. The Tiragasu that you have to get as a passive is, a little bit unfortunate, but will help ramp your damage later. And I think it's just a great overall choice for weapon to have. And obviously what it upgrades into is fantastic. But even if you didn't upgrade it, you'd still get a good amount of damage out of this, especially early game. These are really, really good early game weapons. Now, the upgraded version, however, is... Oh, it's close between these two. It's real close. I'm going to put it as, in my opinion, the best weapon in the game. I mean, the constant... If you have Tome level 5, it's constant lasers everywhere. If you have more revives with the new Awake... the new Awake Arcana, you have like 12 spokes of the wheel and just constantly spinning and dealing constant laser damage. This weapon always has first in total damage output for my runs usually, and first or second in DPS. So the damage output's crazy if you're trying to get high kill games or even level runs or just trying to win. This is a great way to do it because these things are absolutely insane. So I think it's the best weapon in the game, maybe the second best. Regardless, it is a top 2 weapon in the game and is just unbelievably good. Next up, Garlic. Oh baby, Garlic gets D tier. It's good early game and it's good if you're new to the game. But for me, I have not used Garlic in probably months now because when I'm doing challenge runs or I'm going for high kill games or high level runs, this is not going to help me enough. It'll get me through the first couple minutes, but after that, the damage falls off so hard and it's just a waste of a slot. So Garlic for me just has to be D tier. It's not good enough. It's not better than the birds, and its upgraded version will sit right there with it. The health gained is cool and all, but once again, the weapon as a whole for me in my runs is usually a waste of a slot. Like I said, I think it's good if you're new. It might help you get a little bit farther than, if you're not getting consistent 30-minute wins, then it's good. But if not, then this is just a waste of a slot, in my opinion. Not much else to talk about there. The knives. One of the more controversial ones on my last tier list, and maybe will be again today. We'll see. So the OG knives, I'm going to put here at C for the same reason of they take a while to get going. They do crit now with the new Arcana, which is really good. But they still take a while to get going, and it'll be, it's not super convenient because you can only go in one direction, but they are good at helping you escape a lot of times because you can just cleave through enemies straight in front of you and run that way. So if you need to escape, try to find some floor chicken, whatever it is, they are helpful in getting out of a pinch. Now the upgraded knives, in my opinion, are A tier and probably right here. The constant, like if you have some projectile speed, you've got you got duplicate, like the amount of damage that these do in one direction is crazy. You will absolutely be able to escape with these. But if you just sit there and run in a circle, like use a controller or use mouse to move and run in like a smooth circle, the damage output from the knives is pretty crazy. For a while, Knives were a key part of high kill runs. Like the top like 5 or 6 high kill runs had the knives in it because of how good they were at killing things quickly. Like they're a really good weapon. They do a ton of damage, and yes, they might only go in one direction, but that's fine. You can make them go in other directions by moving in a circle, or use it as an escape method. The damage numbers are going to be decent enough with this, especially now that they can crit, and those crits can do double damage. So the knives for me, the upgraded version, are in A tier. Throw me under the bus, sue me if you must, but they are definitely in A tier. The next one here is Santa Water. Santa Water. I'm going to put it in B tier, right in front of the axes. I think it's close. The reason I'm putting them in front is because the Santa Water does just passive damage on the map, right? The axes, you throw them up in the air, they come down, they're gone. Santa Water goes on the map and stays there, and any enemy passing through it will take damage for a certain amount of time. It's another weapon that takes a little bit to get going, but once you have a couple of upgrades and a little bit of passive help, this can output good damage. I will say one of the more annoying things is getting the passive for this, the Attract Orb, just because it's good if you're just trying to win runs, but in my cases, a lot of times, I'm not trying to level up a ton, and Attract Orb makes me level up more, which is unfortunate, but it's still a decent overall weapon, for sure. It'll get you a ton of damage and help you win runs a lot of the time. So it's definitely good, but its upgraded version is definitely better. And it belongs in S tier. It does. Labora, because of it having a huge AoE and moving to you, I mean, the passive damage you get from this, like the water puddles just sitting on the ground and enemies running through it, is huge. Once again, this is another weapon that will be topping your damage charts. An unbelievable amount of damage can come from Labora. So it's a great weapon. It's really, really good. And if you're trying to just win runs, you're trying to get high kill runs, whatever you're trying to do, this weapon most of the time is going to help you out with that. So I think it's an S tier. I think it's at the bottom of S tier compared to the rest of these, but still maybe above Death Spiral, but because of the new Arcana, I think Death Spiral just has a buff there, but still really, really good. Next up, we have our friend, the Lightning Ring. Now, Lightning Ring is probably right there for me. I think it's an A tier weapon, right above the Cross. It's definitely slower to get rolling than the Cross, but once you have it going at full capacity, this is another weapon that would do great even if you didn't upgrade it. It would hit very hard and be a very solid weapon with no upgrades. Obviously, cooldown reduction it scales really well with, so you want some cooldown reduction going, but it does an amazing job at killing enemies at all stages of the game. The damage output doesn't really fall off too much, and just a solid overall weapon. The upgraded version, the Thunder Loop, is going to stay in A tier, and it's going to be a little bit better. It doesn't make a huge difference, but it does make a decent difference, and will be a good part of a lot of runs. It's been in and out of the high kill meta, so it's definitely a solid choice, no matter what you're trying to do. And once again, it's another case of, this weapon will take care of a lot of enemies that aren't near you right now. So if you're having trouble with enemies getting near you and you need more zoning tools, then, things like Santa Water, Labora, Bible, Garlic, those things will help you. But if you're killing through enemies really easily and you just want to add more enemies to that kill number by killing enemies on the edges of the screen, Thunder Loop will be a good way to do that. So definitely A tier, definitely not above Vandalier, but actually it's not above Heaven's Sword either, since Heaven's Sword can crit now, or since Heaven's Sword can deal double crit damage now. I don't think it's above that. So it'll go right there on the tier list. Next up, We have the Song of Mana and its upgrades. So this is going to be a weird one, and you might think I'm an idiot for this. I promise I'm not. I promise I know what I'm talking about. Song of Mana itself is going to be A tier. It's so good early game at getting kills. So efficient at getting kills early game. Like, really, really good. And it, it's one of the things that makes it hard not to take in high kill runs or any type of run, really, because of how good this is going to be at getting you kills throughout the early game. Now, obviously, later in the game, it starts to fall off a little bit, and it's only up and down, so there's not a lot of AoE coverage there. But the upgraded version, turns it into a circle and slows down enemies and what have you. I'm putting the upgraded version in C. Why are you putting it in C? That doesn't even make any sense. Listen, by the time you are upgrading the Song of Mana, it has fallen off. The upgraded version has already fallen off and is not good. Not great for your run anymore. It's still okay. It's still not bad. It'll still be slowly outputting damage for you. And if you're just trying to win runs, once again, if you're just trying to win, trying to get your first 30 minutes, then it's great. It's great for that. But for me, going for high kill runs, stuff like that, I don't get enough use out of this. By the time this is getting upgraded to this, it's already too late. I don't need this anymore. I have other things doing plenty of damage. This is just doing a very minuscule amount compared to everything else. And it's not great to have that taking up an entire slot for me, okay? Early game for high kill runs, the OG Song of Mana, that cleaves. The upgraded version, by the time we're there, I don't need it anymore. So that's why I'm putting that into C tier. And I'll put it above the knife because it should be above the knife. But it is C tier. And there's no Arcanas to help it, really. I mean, there's the duration one, but that's fluctuates. But regardless, C tier. Next up, Pentagram. This one's really interesting. Pentagram is going to start in C tier. I'm trying to think if I can put it above the Fire Wand. Probably not. Okay, so it's very convenient, if you're just trying to get, well, not even trying to get a kill count, but you're trying to, like, clear the screen so often, you're trying to get your 30-minute run. It's really good for that. For a while, and maybe still is, I haven't kept up with it in a bit. For a while, it was extremely good at getting, like, high-level runs, because you could just, once you had your cooldown maxed and the pentagram maxed, you'd just be constantly killing enemies and they'd be constantly dropping XP. But it's so weird because talk about slow to get going. This game isn't slow to get going. It's like you need to get this to max level as soon as possible because otherwise you're losing out on XP. You're losing out on kills when you don't get the lucky proc of it. You can lose out on chests, floor drops. There's a lot of things you can lose out on with this. But once you have it max leveled and there's no more of that, then it's really, really useful for trying to get wins. For sure. For sure. Now, the upgraded version of it, I'm going to put it into B tier. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but a lot of times in my high kill runs, I'm not trying to level up as much. Because the more you level, the more enemies' health scales a little bit. So the less kills you're going to get. This weapon, obviously, automatically makes XP and pulls it in. Which, for a normal run, is great. You want this. If you're just trying to get to 30 minutes, Pentagram and upgraded Pentagram for sure are things you want to have. But for other types of runs, I don't think it's that useful. And I just don't think it's quite good enough to make any moves on the B tier list. Could probably be at the C tier list over at the top. It's an okay weapon. It's good for getting you wins, but that's about it for the pentagram. Next up, we have the Rune Tracer. Rune Tracer is going to be there. Why is it there? Well, this is officially, in my opinion, the best weapon without an upgrade. Well, it has an upgrade, but if you don't upgrade a weapon, like unevolved weapons, this is the best one, in my opinion. It's going to do a lot of damage output, scales really well with a lot of different things, and the 100% pierce that it has, just piercing through enemies, is super, super useful. It doesn't need a ton of help to get going. It's pretty quick to get this thing rolling, and is just a really convenient weapon to have. And even before it had an upgrade, was a good part of a lot of high kill runs, and still is actually today. Now its upgraded version, I'm gonna put it above, but they're almost even. The upgraded version will 100% get you more damage output, more kills. Well, more damage output for sure. Now, the reason it's very close is because in order to upgrade to this, you need armor. Armor is a complete waste of a passive slot, other than upgrading Rune Tracer. Outside of the upgrade for Rune Tracer, it is a waste. 100% a waste, which makes it really difficult to take sometimes. But that's when it's lucky that the original Rune Tracer is so good, because sometimes you won't even need to take it. You can just let the Rune Tracer do the work. But it will get you more damage if you do take the armor and upgrade it to the upgraded version, the no future. It'll just be a waste of one of your passive slots. So next we have the whip. Where do I want the whip? D tier maybe. I'm going to put it at the bottom of the C because I don't think it's as bad as the birds, but it's not great. It's only left to right. It's not a huge AoE. You're only killing a few enemies. It's fine, but it's not great. It's okay. I don't use this like ever anymore. I don't think it scales super well. I'm just not a big fan of the whip in general. I don't think it's very good. The upgraded whip I also don't think is very good. I'm going to put it in C tier. I'll put it at the top of C tier. Obviously, the lifesteal is really nice, but once again, I've gotten to a point where I'm, getting 30-minute runs almost every time. I don't really need the lifesteal. It doesn't do a ton of damage, doesn't have a huge area of effect. So for newer players, it's probably a little bit better and probably a little bit higher on the list. But for me, they just don't get the job done. They're not good enough. In fact, I'm probably going to move this behind the wand. Just not good enough. Just not good enough. And the last one that has an upgrade is our good friend the wand and the upgraded wand. Normal wand, I'm going to put above knives in C tier. It's okay. It'll do some work for you. Once again, newer players, I think it's better for newer players. But later on in the game, it's just not as great. And just, it's, I don't know. It's just not good enough compared to some of these other weapons on the list. So it's going to be in C tier, and it's going to be towards the bottom of C tier. Now, the upgraded version is interesting because it gets a little bit of a buff. And why does it get a buff? Because one of the characters in the game actually starts with the upgraded wand. And starting with the upgraded wand is nuts because for the first 10 minutes of the game, 1/3 of the run, this thing carries and will shred through enemies. And for getting high kill games, that is huge. And that character that starts with this has become the meta for getting high kill games. The problem is, the reason it's not higher is late game, the damage is awful. And I mean awful. It will, guaranteed in all of my high kill runs recently, it has been the lowest damage and not even close. There's no arcanas to help it out. The damage falls off. It's just not good enough by that time. So it's good for 10 minutes, 1/3 of the run. It will shred and carry, but it does fall off really fast, and that's the only reason it's not going to go higher on the list. Now, we get into the weapons that don't have any upgrades, which honestly, there's not that many. I didn't realize there were this few that don't have an evolution. But Bone, the first one. Bone is going to go in A tier. Do I want it behind knives? Actually, no. I'm going to put Bone at the top of B tier. The reason I'm going to put it there is because it's the rarest weapon in the game, and unless you're playing the skeleton guy, more than likely, it's going to be so often, like, you're never going to find it. Very rarely you're going to find it, so it is really good, I think. It scales just like the Rune Tracer. It doesn't do quite as much damage, but still scales pretty well. I just don't, it's just not good enough because it's so uncommon that it makes it worse of a weapon because you can't rely on it. You cannot rely on finding it, but if you do find it, it is a really good weapon without an evolution. So I'll put it at the top of B tier, but the rarity definitely lowers it a little bit. The new weapon, the cats. The cats for me are going to go right there. Right in between Heaven's Sword and Thunder Loop. Because Heaven's Sword can crit, it's not better than that. But this thing, when you get it going, is crazy. Now, obviously, it can do damage to you, so you have to be careful. But the AoE and the amount of like screen coverage that this weapon has is kind of ridiculous. And the amount of damage it does per tick is kind of ridiculous. So I have a whole, and now if you don't know what this weapon is or you don't know how it works, I have an entire video explaining it because it's pretty niche. There's a lot of niche things about this compared to other weapons that are pretty straightforward. This one's a little different. So I have a video talking about it, but I'm a huge fan of it, and I think it does a really good job. It was topping my damage charts. Like, it was top 3 for my damage charts, and I'm talking about like competing with Death Spiral, competing with Heaven's Sword, competing with Labora for damage output. So definitely a really solid weapon, in my opinion. Next up, we have the Cherry Bomb. I'm going to put it there in B tier. It's good. Once again, extremely rare if you're not playing on the character that starts with it. And it's good. It scales like those other 2 weapons do, but the explosions are kind of underwhelming for me sometimes, and I'm just not as big of a fan of this one as I am of like Bone or Rune Tracer, the other similar weapons. So I think it's B tier. I think it's good. I think it'll help you win runs if you're playing on that character for sure. But it doesn't deserve to be any higher than that, and that might even be pushing it a little bit. Next up, the Clock Lancet. I'm gonna put this in F because for me, it's always just a waste of a slot. Like, it might be able to help you win runs if you do something really specific with it. It'll help you if you're going for just seeing how long you can survive past the 30-minute mark. But in terms of just straight up this being a weapon, it's not good. It's not great. I don't have any reason ever to use it. And for me, it deserves to be in the F tier. That's it. Laurel. Laurel is interesting, and it's going to go bottom of C because for a couple of my challenge runs that I do, Laurel is very good to be able to prevent damage from happening. And for newer players, I think it could be a use of a slot instead of wasting a slot. I think it could be useful. Most of the time for me and for, players as you start trying to do crazy builds, you're never going to use this for any reason. But there are some scenarios where I think it does work out. So I think it does deserve to be in C. The Clock Lancet is just basically only one scenario I can think of where you'd want it. So that's why it's an F. This one has a couple. So it'll go into C tier for me. Bottom of C tier, but C tier nonetheless. And our other friend joining the Clock Lancet. And I don't even know if it's better, honestly. I think it's the worst weapon in the game. I really do. The wheel is just not good. The cooldown, it takes way too long to get going, and it needs a ton of help. It's super slow, needs way too much help, and I don't think is very good. I just don't. There's never a reason where you would want to take this. Every other weapon in the game has a reason. Everything else has a reason you would want it. This does not. So that's why it's going to go in F tier and be the bottom of the tier list, which is unfortunate. But there is a look at the full entire tier list right there. I'm pretty happy with it. Once again, this is my opinion. I have my reasons for each, but let me know down below what you agree with, what you don't agree with, and what changes you would make. But regardless, thank you for watching. Be sure you check those links down below. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I love each and every one of your faces, and I will catch you all in the next video.